All right, we got our pinnacle of filmical this week.
Yes, David.
Number 92? Yes, 92 on the list. We are moving through this list quickly. It's crazy that we've already gotten through so many movies. This week is the 1952...
Wait. Oh, the 1952 cross-country epic Singin' in the Rain.
Cross-country epic.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a musical comedy romance.
I love that you always give it a wrong.
Little bit
Are you going to do that? Okay, got it. Cross-country classic. Singing in the Rain with no G. You got to drop the G.
Yeah, I was searching for it to watch it legally, and I was like, "There's nothing called Singing in the Rain." It's like, oh, it's singing apostrophe in the rain.
Singing,
yeah, singing in the rain.
Anyways, classic 1952 musical starring Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and what is her name? Debbie Reynolds.
Directed by Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly. Written by Adolph Green and Betty Comden.
Yeah, we got to get our chops here. But
yeah.
the movie is about it takes place. It's a movie that was filmed obviously in the 50s, but it talks about classic non-silent films and kind of this transition between silent films and talkies, as they called them. And
100% talkies. I like that.
I love it.
On
Yeah,
the
it's
ads
great.
or
Yeah. But the movie is about these two characters named Don Lockwood, who's played by Gene Kelly, and his co-star, who is Lena Lamont, I think is her name.
Lena
Lamont. And they are kind of, think of, I'm trying to give an equivalent now. Like, it really, the only thing I can think of in our time, and it's not even our time, is Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. Right? They had the Sleepless in Seattle. They had Volcano.
Oh, they were like kind of the classic pairing.
Right. They were in a bunch of different movies. You've Got Mail, where it was like this rom-com where the same two actors were kind of playing the same type of characters. They were like...
Yeah, and there was always a kind of thing like, when are you going to get married? It's like, oh, we're just friends. So it's like a manufactured relationship to kind of keep people going to the movies.
Right.
Actually, there was kind of a big plot line from Hail Caesar, that Coen movie that just came out. So it was kind of like familiar. It's kind of cool.
So yeah, these characters keep playing across each other as like in these romantic silent films, and everyone thinks they're really something in real life, and they keep playing that up because it helps sell the movie.
Yep.
But really they hate each other, which is great. There's some great interaction. But ultimately what happens is as there's this transition from silent films to talkies, the studio goes, we have to start making these films, because at first they're like, no one's going to watch that crap. And of course they were wrong.
The jazz singer or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point they start adding sound, and the problem, the good thing is that Don Lockwood knows how to sing and dance. That's actually how he had his background in the movie. But his co-star is pretty much just a pretty girl. She can't talk
with a very annoying voice.
She's like, "What's wrong with my voice? Why won't nobody let me talk in these movies?" And, like, she's gorgeous, but she has this terrible voice, and she can't sing and she can't dance. So there's this, like, what are we gonna do? Like, this is the biggest thing going on right now. We can't just split up these two stars. So they come up with this great idea they found this one girl who can sing, and she's an amazing dancer. And ultimately what they're going to do is they're going to pull the, oh God, what was that band in the 80s? Oh God, what were they called? This is, everyone's screaming at me. Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, they're going to have her.
You're talking about Nilla Vanilla?
Yeah, yes, exactly. I'm glad you're there.
I was like, what is he? Oh,
where someone's going to sing, and then they're just going to dub it over it. And so that's what they do. And this girl, what ends up happening, unfortunately, is that Don Lockwood starts falling in love with this girl who is doing the voice. And so that creates a lot of tension, because Lena Lamont, his opposite, is convinced that they really are something. And he's like, I hate you. Why do you not understand? And she's like, no, you don't. You're just saying that. And he's like, no, I despise you. And throughout this entire movie, there is, again, it's a musical. What ends up happening to make this one movie that's not a silent movie into a talkie is they make it a musical.
Right. Because, I mean, they kind of cover, but he's not really that good at just acting.
No.
He's good at the musical and stuff. So
yeah, his background is a musical background. So that's the movie. That's the movie in a nutshell. I want to talk. There's a bunch of different singing and dancing scenes throughout this movie. What's interesting, and I'll get to the facts in here, but this movie was not originally a musical turned into a movie. It was a movie first, and then, of course, later became a Broadway sensation and all that stuff. But let's do our review. Thumbs Up is a fantastic movie, fits the list because we're on a curve here. This is top 100 movies of all time according to IMDb. So if it's a thumbs up, it's where it should be, or potentially should be higher. Thumbs to the side is it's a good movie. I think it's a fun movie. People should watch it, but it's not a top 100 movie. It should be
where it's at on the list.
Maybe it should be lower on the list. Thumbs down is, we always say, accounting error. This is not a top 100 movie. This isn't even a good movie. I don't know what it's doing on here. I don't even know why people like this. So we'll do that on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 2 giant thumbs up. This is...
How dare you, David? Making fun of my giant hands.
Banana hands. I got something to talk to you off. Anyways, there's a thing called salad fingers. Have you heard about this? I I digress. Anyways, we'll talk about that next
Okay.
week. It's weird. It's a YouTube video. Anyways, 2 thumbs up. I absolutely love this movie.
Me too.
This movie is fun. There's so many movies that you watch and you're not like, you smile every once in a while. You smile throughout this entire movie. It's got classic comedy. I think it's still funny. It holds up today, some of the jokes. Mm-hmm. There's a joke that Don Lockwood is being attacked by a bunch of his fans, and he's telling his buddy, hey, call me a cab. And his friend goes, you're a cab. Like,
yeah.
I know how stupid that joke is, but I laughed out loud. And my wife's like, why do you find that funny? I was like, because it's so dumb. It's the guy walks into a bar and says, ow. Like, that's such a good joke. I don't know why I think it's funny. Maybe that's just something wrong with me. But there is so much amazing. Is it called? What is it? Choreography
with the dancing stuff. Oh, yeah. I know. Like when they're like really close and doing the crazy windmills.
Yeah,
like, how do you do that?
The choreography in this movie is
tap dancing
is insane. Cool. Tap dancing is just. And what I actually notice about this movie that impresses me more than anything, there is like very little cutting in this movie, which means they had to do like there is like maybe 45 seconds to over a minute of no like separate cut, which means they had to get it right, all of it. Like there's a couple times there's cuts, but there's large chunks of this film where there is no cut. It's a single shot, and what's even more impressive is there's like 3 or 4 or 5 characters all dancing simultaneously. It's on point, and there's not a long cut, which means they all had to get it perfect.
Exactly.
Like how many times do you think they had to do that? God, like, and everybody in this movie can dance and sing like it's nobody's business. I mean, Gene Kelly, like, dude is like, I'm not a big dance guy. Like my wife she danced when she was in high school and dance squad and stuff like that. And it's impressive, but I've never I watch music videos. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I can appreciate it. But like some of the single alone dancing, just like one person dancing on screen, it's just like super impressive.
Yeah. There were a couple parts I was watching it with Sarah. And I was just like, wow, that's just so cool. Like,
yeah, to just be able to do that. And Gene Kelly is like super like, it's just like glides. Like everything he does is just super fluid. It's excellent. His counterpart in the movie is played by Donald O'Connor, who plays, I think his name's Cosmo Brown.
The musical.
Yeah, he's the musician director. And he's his buddy. He was the piano guy throughout the whole thing. He can sing and dance too. And some of his stuff, he does this like comedy,
like physical comedy stuff.
Physical comedy dancing. It's insane.
What was that song that he was doing?
Make 'em smile. Make 'em smile. Make 'em smile. Like it's so like slapstick, over the top, amazing. Again, very little cuts, and some of the stuff he does, it's just like falls on the ground, gets up, falls on the ground, gets up, falls on the ground.
Yeah, like does a quick spin in the air and falls back on. Like
it makes
crazy.
Martial arts people look like, like, oh man, this guy. And I'll tell you some other interesting stuff about it. But what makes this a thumbs up for you? I mean,
so
other
my
than
thing,
what I talked about,
I was almost a thumbs to the side pretty much the whole entire movie. I was like, this is really cool. I'm like, again, I'm not a really big musical kind of guy, but I really liked it. Whoa, hot mic there, dude.
There you go, yeah.
No, but like the biggest thing for me, honestly, was just like the message of the movie that I kind of got when he did the Singin' in the Rain number. The number of the
classic that one everyone knows, right?
Yeah, and I didn't really get the message or the tone of the movie, what it really meant until that number. And it's pretty much saying like when something bad happens, you find the silver lining in it. And it's just like singing in the rain. I'm singing in this bad weather. Right. It's finding the best out of the worst situations. And that's how I kind of like to live my life, I guess. So like as soon as I saw it, I'm like, holy crap, this is brilliant. Like I love this. I totally identified with it. Mm-hmm. First, and also it's so meta. Like why it's on this list is because Hollywood likes movies about themselves.
Of course.
And this is one of the biggest examples of it. So I could see why it's so up there.
It's so cool to watch. Like the costumes of the characters when they're playing characters in the talkies and in the silent films are immaculate and amazing. But then they pull back, right? It's supposed to be like, I always think it's funny of like a movie set recording a movie set recording a movie, which is like, again, that meta part. But like even the characters who aren't supposed to be in costume are like spot on. Everyone's costume is perfect. Like it's insane that the costume direction that's in this, perfect. The acting that's outside of it, the dialogue is funny. Like it's definitely that kind of old 50s, like, hey, what'd you tell her? I told her this. You told her that? I told her this. Like it's very like that kind of thing, but it's enjoyable and fun. But first of all, that Singing in the Rain scene is amazing. There's nothing like it. As a kid, you'll always remember it was raining one day and you're jumping in the puddles and you're kicking water and it's just so much fun. Again, this movie is like pure joy. Like it's just, you can't help but smile. Like the characters, it's so infectious to watch this movie and smile. And the singing, the dancing is just amazing, but it's just, you feel happy.
And I don't know what it was. It was just like, it was just a light bulb that clicked for me. Cause like that number that's like, oh, that's what they're doing with the movie. They're seeing like, oh, we got this bad movie where it's going to ruin our careers. Let's just turn it around. So it's just about seeing the goodness of every bad situation.
Right.
You know, seeing the silver lining.
Exactly.
I love it. It's wonderful.
Anything you didn't like?
No.
I will say there was so again the cinematography is amazing, the jump cuts, but what ends up happening, there's one scene, and I'll talk about, well, actually I'll just talk about it.
Yeah, just talk about it.
Let's do this. I'm going to start spoiling the movie. Again, it came out in 1952 if you haven't seen it. But obviously this movie came out in the 50s. There's the scene where it's one of the last scenes, it's the Broadway, the big lights, and then he's in that club, the girl with the green dress, real risque dance.
Yeah.
There's a scene in there where it like does this real hard jump cut. And I noticed it because I was like, that's weird, because like the rest of this movie's been so fluid, especially that scene, because it's very like, it's all just dancing. There's not even any singing. So you notice it, and I was like, what the heck? Why did that get cut like that? You might not have noticed it, but I was paying attention.
Yeah, maybe.
So then I looked it up.
How dare you?
No, but I mean, I looked. No, but I meant I pay. You're not paying attention.
I was like paying attention though.
You're probably like, oh, look at her dress. Anyways, the point is that, so I looked it up and I was like, that was odd. It just felt like out of place, specifically because of how it's filmed. Apparently there's a scene there that was like too risque. So they literally had to cut it from like the last minute. And I'm always like, what was it? Cause like, that's like totally fine. But a couple interesting things about this movie that make it incredible. One is Debbie Reynolds, who plays the girl who can sing and dance, had no background in dancing until this movie.
Oh, really?
So she just practiced day and night to try to keep up with the other two, which is like, wow.
Crazy, yeah.
And I think she said like the two hardest things in her life were childbirth and doing this movie, which makes sense because like those other two can dance like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly had never worked on a movie before until this movie, which is like
together?
Yeah, together. Which like their chemistry on
is perfect.
It's like it feels like they've been longtime friends, like insane. The costume director of this movie also has said that this is the hardest movie that he's ever worked on, and he worked on I believe he worked on Gone with the Wind, which is like, you would think that one would be a lot if you've seen Gone with the Wind. Like it's way more intense and more epic than this movie. But there are so many scenes in this movie. I love the Broadway scene too, where it's like these big lights, and I thought that was going to be like done. There's some green screen effects in this movie that are pretty good. Like they look better than some people do now. Like Starship Troopers should take a lesson from this 1952 film with green screening. But the scene with the lights, like it seems like it's going to be green screen, but then they like peel back and it's like, no, those are actually those are real effects. And then they zoom in. Like the camera work in this movie is
there's a lot of cool shots in this movie.
And then like the scene they have that OK Go thing, remember the music video, the moving sidewalk where he's dancing and people are going past, like just little things like that. Like the practical effects in this movie make it just absolutely amazing. There's tons of different songs. Good Morning is amazing. Good morning, good morning. Like everything is so happy in this movie, and it's so funny. There are so many jokes in this movie. Like she's the girl that pops out of the cake, of course. And then he's like, we've been looking around all town for you. You've been going and looking at every single cake. Like there's so many good jokes like that are still classic jokes. They're not time sensitive. They make sense today. The relationships between like how Hollywood wants the hot girl, but she can't really act. It's like, Jessica Alba.
So we'll do instead of replacing her, we'll do anything we can to make that person work.
Right. Like it's just, it's, and it talks about like how actors sometimes can use their leverage to do, things that probably don't benefit anybody but themselves. And it's about, and at the beginning of the movie, he talks about, it's all about integrity, or I think that's what the word he uses, integrity above everything. And then like the whole movie is about like tricking the audience into thinking that this woman can sing and dance. But the scene where it messes up when they show the what is it called? Before it's called the dancing, before it's the dance, it's Dancing Cavalier, but before that it's called Dueling Cavalier.
Yeah.
And like the mess up when they do the screening,
audio?
and it's like yes, no, like oh my god, so funny because like it's so simple, it's so stupid, but it's still funny, like simple jokes are still good jokes,
right.
Like we don't have to make it this complex thing. I can't. This movie should be higher on the list.
I agree.
What's interesting,
and we'll see as we keep watching. But yeah,
but this has got to be. I am a fan of. I like musicals because it is harder to do. I mean, than like traditional. I mean, there's some amazing acting out there, but like he can sing, he can act, and he can dance his ass off. Like that's amazing, and so can Debbie Reynolds.
You don't see that so much anymore.
No, and like. Apparently, when this movie came out, it wasn't as popular as, I think it's An American in Paris, which is another Gene Kelly movie that came out a year before. So this was like not critically acclaimed until I think maybe a little bit into it. And then it got, of course, now it's on Broadway and it's just super. And that, of course, the iconic song, Singin' in the Rain, still is in common vernacular today, right? We talk about Singin' in the Rain. Like, It's so good. It's just so good. Love this movie. Please go watch this movie if you haven't seen it.
Definitely worth it.
The story is, it's not this epic story, but just the singing and like these dance numbers are long. I mean, like 4, 5, 6 minutes. Like the scene with the couch, the good morning, and they do the thing where they're on the couch and then they walk over and they push the couch down and they walk over it. Apparently they had to film that like 40 times because there's 3 of them and it's perfect. And the only jump cut is when they finally land on the couch and they zoom into the couch.
Right.
So like that whole scene had to be done a bunch of times.
This movie itself is kind of long as well.
It's like an hour and 50 minutes. It's close to
hour and 43 minutes.
Yeah, it's like...
Which is pretty long for an older movie.
Well, that and it's like a musical, which I was like, ooh, this is going to be like a long movie. And apparently the last scene, the Broadway scene, was put in at the last minute, which is funny because that's what the whole...
It kind of seems like it, too.
Well, the movie talks about it like, we have this idea for this last number. It's like, it's so meta. Like, they're doing literally what they're talking about the movie they're making while they're making it, which is amazing. Also, Donald O'Connor, there's this whole thing that he should have died in this movie because, one, he smoked like 4 packs a day. And then that scene where he did like the physical comedy, make him smile, like he had to do that a bunch of times. They're like, we don't know how he lived. Like, dude smoked 4 packs a day. Now I'm sure cigarettes back then weren't as bad as they are now, but just love this movie. love this movie. It should be higher in my opinion. So check it out. Singin' in the Rain, 1952 classic. The next one on our list is a much more modern movie. I love that we like bounce from like 1952 to 2000 and like it's just I love that.
Well, we got 1995. It's Toy Story.
Toy Story. Now,
which we've talked about before, but I don't think we've done like a full
proper review. So what we'll do for Toy Story is maybe something a little bit different. We'll talk about we'll think about it, but we won't just go over the movie because, of course, like I think Toy Story now
everyone's seen it.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be like Toy Story is about Woody the cowboy,
Fat Andy and his toys.
Maybe we'll do a more deeper dive in like the background of how it came. We'll talk to your wife. I'm sure she knows.
I'm sure.
So yeah, definitely check that out. Also, if you watched Singin' in the Rain or if you're keeping up with us, we'd like to know what you guys thought about the movie. Of course, leave comments down below or you can write us an email too.
sitdownstandard@gmail.com.
And of course, if we pick your email, you will get a $5 gift card to Amazon, Steam, or Starbucks.
Yep.
And like we said, if you want to pay for the person behind you in line at Starbucks, you're helping out the world. They're gonna be singing in the rain.
There you go.
Starbucks coffee. That's weird. Anyways, till next time. Bye.
See ya.